of Nashville. Back at 6.
On World News Tonight, this Tuesday, a wave of demonstrations similar to this one around the world today. They all involve one man, a hero to some and a terrorist to others. In the United States, almost every day for 6 months, someone has threatened to use a biological weapon. How serious is this? What the supercomputer can do for your local weather forecast, we'll take a closer look. And forget about a midlife crisis. A new study says Americans 40 to 60 are having the time of their lives.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. The best way to describe the impact of our lead story tonight is to show you the map of Europe. Every place you see a white circle today, there was a demonstration or a political action today. And very often violence was a factor because a man named Abdullah Öcalan has been arrested and taken back to Turkey where he faces the death sentence because of the war he has waged against the Turks. Öcalan is Kurdish and he has fought for years to win a Kurdish homeland in the Kurdish part of Turkey. As far as the Turkish government is concerned, he's a terrorist. And what has made Kurds even angrier today is the cooperation that Turkey apparently got from the Greeks in picking him up. Here's ABC's Mike Lee.
Dutch police fought with Kurdish demonstrators outside the Greek ambassador's residence. Inside, other Kurds were holding several diplomats hostage. By daybreak, the crisis was escalating. In France, fierce clashes between Kurds and police. All across Europe, the Kurdish independence movement erupted in fury over the capture of its leader. In Sydney, Australia, Kurds drenched themselves in gasoline and threatened to set themselves on fire. In London, British police rushed a crowd of Kurds when a gas can was opened and a blaze broke out. Later, a young woman came running into the street on fire. Police smothered the flames. She was taken to a hospital, still chanting Kurdish slogans. All of this over a man considered by Turkey and by the United States government to be a ruthless terrorist, but also regarded by millions of Kurds throughout the world as their hero. Abdullah Öcalan leads the PKK, the armed Kurdish guerrilla group which has for 15 years been fighting for independence from Turkish rule. Öcalan's rebels have claimed responsibility for numerous terrorist attacks. Among the victims, women, children, and foreign tourists. Turkey's own campaign of murder and forced expulsions has created strong support among Kurds for Öcalan. He had been on the run for months until last night, hiding at the Greek embassy in Kenya.
I think this was an act of treason by the Greeks to hand Mr. Öcalan over to the Turkish.
The Kurds say that Öcalan cannot receive a fair trial in Turkey. And tonight, his followers around the world are vowing to continue their protests. Mike Lee, ABC News, London.
The White House said late today that it is pleased that Mr. Öcalan has been captured. The U.S. thinks he's a terrorist leader as well, as Mike Lee said. The State Department said it has heightened security at American embassies in Europe, and Americans traveling in Turkey are advised to be extra cautious. Still overseas, in Germany today, a dozen big companies agreed to compensate Holocaust-era slave laborers and their heirs. The company set up a fund that will reportedly pay out more than $1 billion by agreeing to pay victims and their heirs. Now, the companies hope to avoid class action lawsuits in the U.S. Among those participating are Daimler Chrysler, Volkswagen, and Siemens. In other news today, a man has been put on trial in the small town of Jasper, Texas, for one of the more gruesome crimes in recent years. Much of the country remembers the murder of James Byrd. He is the black man dragged to death behind a pickup truck. John William King is one of the 3 white men charged with his murder. And ABC's Steve Osunsami is in Jasper, Texas tonight.
Outside this old courthouse, a small army of police is prepared for the worst. The metal detectors have never been used before. The crowds have never been this large, and the worldwide attention never so glaring.
Every day, newspapers, it just got blown out of proportion.
Fair trial here.
An army of press met John William King as he arrived. Hidden underneath his bulletproof vest and long-sleeve shirt, prosecutors told the jury, is a patchwork of white supremacist tattoos. A friend described one tattoo on King's arm. It depicts a lynching. She also says King wrote her these letters from jail where he repeatedly said white women with black lovers should be hanged alongside their partners.
Y'all back up. Y'all back up.
The family of the victim, James Byrd Jr., sat quietly in front of the jurors, who are mostly middle-aged, 11 white, 1 black. One of the jurors fought back tears as prosecutors showed pictures from the crime scene. Prosecutors say Byrd was still alive when they believe King and 2 friends began dragging him from the back of a gray pickup truck. The horror of this crime has made some difference here. A fence that once divided black graves from white ones is gone. And a schoolboy with a Confederate belt buckle has been suspended until he leaves it at home. Prosecutors say details yet to come from this case are worse than anyone here ever imagined. So calming tensions won't come easy. Steve Osunsami, ABC News, Jasper, Texas.
When we come back, the news will be more hopeful. Crisis? What crisis? Americans are cruising through middle-aged. And now that one crisis in her life is over, is the First Lady really serious about the Senate?
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Charles Schwab.
My father's starting a new business, and he's been worried about income because he's not getting any, basically.
So we decided to come in and talk to Robert.
I recommended we talk to our fixed income department to possibly come up with different investment ideas that would be appropriate for them.
I tend to think you're a bit more risky than I like to be.
You know, the world doesn't stop growing just because you retire.
I helped guide them through some of the fixed income investments that were available. Typically, everyone has a common goal of financial security.
And I can feel secure feeling that my father is secure.
Boogie woogie, rumbling round, creamy, dreamy, rumbling round. It's got yogurt, blended right in, with the creamy taste of butter, you'll try it.
The goodness of yogurt, the creamy taste of butter, with half the fat and calories, must be Rummelin' Brown.
Out here, I'm in command. So am I supposed to say, slow down, guys, I'm constipated? I don't think so. You try to eat right, sometimes you can't. Harsh chemical laxatives, they can kick in whenever and wherever. Not an option. So I rely on doctor-recommended Metamucil. It's got 100% natural fiber. Works with my body, gently, which is important to a sensitive guy like myself.
Metamucil, the doctor's natural choice for regularity.
There's a landmark study published today on middle-aged, what life is like during middle age, to be even more precise. For so many people, the popular image of middle age is the midlife crisis. Menopause for women, all sorts of turmoil for men and for women. The study has taken 10 years, and ABC's John McKenzie reports that it shatters much of the conventional wisdom.
This survey, the most extensive of its kind, explores just what happens to people biologically and psychologically as they journey through middle age.
I think we were surprised to find that midlife was as secure and benign as it turns out to be for most people.
But what about all those crises we've come to expect in middle age? The turmoil, the stress, the failing health, the crumbling marriages.
They're not happening as much as they were reported to be happening. And second is, yes, for those to whom it happened, they're dealing with it much better than we thought.
But for the most part, the survey finds that Americans in midlife have remarkably few worries. On marriage, 72% of middle-aged spouses surveyed describe their marriages as excellent or very good, and an amazing 90% expect to remain in their relationship. One researcher explained that by middle age, many of the worst marriages have already dissolved. Job security does not seem to be a problem. The survey found more than 80% of middle-aged men and women predict they'll be able to keep their current jobs for at least 2 years. On menopause, most middle-aged women report the emotional and physical effects have been greatly exaggerated. 50% have never experienced hot flashes, and only 25% got them once a week or more. In all, 62% of postmenopausal women report only relief that their periods had stopped. On overall health, more than 70% of people in the study consider themselves in perfect health. But almost that same number also admit they're overweight, and few work hard at staying healthy. But it's their mental health that may come as the biggest surprise. They say major depression and anxiety start dropping by the mid-40s, and less than 10% appear to actually go through any midlife crisis.
Midlife crises, in reality, are quite rare. The more typical experience is a feeling of contentment and satisfaction in the middle years of life.
The two biggest complaints of middle-aged Americans seem to be money and sex. They don't have as much of either as they would like. But for the most part, the study finds that people in midlife are much more in control of their lives than ever imagined, that they've put aside the anxieties of youth and are actually enjoying what they've become. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
Just one other observation from the study about those of us in middle age. The average person said they felt between 10 and 20 years younger than they actually were. On the money tonight, some trends in the job market thanks to technology. The Labor Department projects today that the need for directory assistance operators, proofreaders, and sewing machine operators is going down sharply thanks to computers. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up more than 22 points to close at 92.97. On the NASDAQ, stocks were down 8 points. American Airlines says today it lost between $67 and $90 million during the sick-out by its pilots. A federal judge in Dallas tomorrow will determine how much, if any, he will fine the pilots' union. And a trend item from the post office. The Postal Service says that last October, for the first time, it delivered more advertising mail than first-class letters. In a moment, knowing the weather in your own backyard, 2 days from now at 4 p.m. precisely, the revolution in weather forecasting.
There's an athlete amongst us, disguised as a mother and a neighbor. And when most of us are still sleeping, she's running. She also takes the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and folic acid in Women's Ultra Mega Multivitamins, made by General Nutrition Centers. Tomorrow, she'll get up and run some more. Women's Ultra Mega Multivitamins, made exclusively by GNC. Live strong, live well.
Put on your best suit. You are cordially invited to Lobster Fest at Red Lobster. Indulge in all of your lobster favorites at the most casual prices of the year. Escape to Red Lobster for Lobster Fest today.
If you leave a job half done, you could be in big trouble, right? Right. That's the problem with ordinary pain relievers. They work for a while, then quit. Aleve works all day long with just 2 pills. And Aleve is safe. It's made with a form of naproxen doctors that prescribed and trusted for years. So if your pain reliever isn't getting the job done, sink it. And try Aleve. 2 pills, all-day relief. Works for me.
The days of wearing bulky protective undergarments are over. All because of a revolutionary new product from Depend. Introducing disposable protective underwear. It combines a discreet, sure fit with a built-in super absorbent panel. It's the closest thing to regular underwear you can buy. So slim fitting, all that shows is your confidence. It's your life. Live it the way you want. New Depend protective underwear.
Get all you want out of life with Depend.
Enterprise rent a car for my trip?
Looks expensive. It's not expensive, Mom.
They pick us up? Sounds expensive.
Pickup's free, Mom.
Well, if it's not expensive, why didn't I get a convertible?
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
This week, we're taking a closer look at the revolution in weather forecasting, the dream of never having to guess about the weather again. Innovations in technology have already improved our ability to predict the weather. With the invention of the telegraph in 1844, people could relay weather information over longer distances. The U.S. launched the first weather satellite in 1960, for the first time letting people see the weather patterns move across the continents. Some people now watch it for hours on end. Tonight, ABC's Aaron Hayes reports on the next wave in weather technology. It is getting even better.
It sure would be nice to know in your neighborhood, your neck of the woods, your own little stretch of the beach, what the weather was going to be right there at, say, 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Lovely? Iffy? Downright nasty? Well, predicting what is on its way to you, not just your region or your state or your county, but in a few square miles around your house, is now possible. And it will predict the difference in temperature?
Yeah, the model is predicting 47.3 there and 49 degrees there.
How big an area is that?
Every 6 miles.
Federal weather researchers have developed pinpoint forecasting, accurate and detailed.
Wind speed, temperature, dew point, precipitation type, clouds.
And they do it by using supercomputers.
It's a lot of calculations, and so you need a lot of horsepower to do that.
Because weather data today now flies in from thousands of places. And calculating all of that is complicated science, the physics of cloud formation, thermodynamics of ground heat creating wind flow, the fluid mechanics of a thunderstorm. Only a supercomputer can crunch it down to pinpoint forecasts, and not cheaply. About $1 million for the computers and instruments that make up the system, which is still in the test stages. But its first big test was promising. Here in Atlanta during the '96 Summer Olympics, officials were worried thunderstorms might rain out the closing ceremonies.
There were, in fact, thunderstorms in the vicinity about 10 to 15 miles to the southeast of Atlanta.
But an IBM supercomputer helped scientists pinpoint the storms, predict they would stop just short of the city. The closing ceremonies were held on schedule.
We're no-go for launch at this time. Just because of weather? Because of weather.
Now, NASA, so dependent on the weather, plans to install the system, which has been fine-tuned and upgraded since the Olympics.
Right now, our forecasts are like, we expect thunderstorms over central Florida this afternoon. We want to be able to say, we expect thunderstorms over the shuttle launch pad between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Scientists are fine-tuning the system, believe in a few years you'll be able to click on your computer and learn precisely what weather is winging its way to you. Aaron Hayes, ABC News, Atlanta.
And then sometimes there is this. No matter how precise the weather forecast, it's hard to understand exactly what your local weather forecaster is saying. For example, what is the difference between a weather watch and a weather warning? ABC's Tom Foreman reports tonight from Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Truck drivers who rely on winter weather forecasts know how confusing they can be, with an ever-growing number of forecasters using a variety of descriptions and terms.
Significant accumulation.
Warning is
It's
in
really
effect.
messy.
Get
outside.
ready for the snow because it's on the way.
The last couple of years, it's been getting harder and harder to predict what's going to happen out on the road.
The meteorologists developing the new rating system hope to end the confusion by ranking winter storms just as hurricanes and tornadoes are ranked, according to scientific measurements such as barometric pressure and wind speed. But they also want to factor in how much public inconvenience a storm may cause. Under the rating system, a Category 1 storm typically would create minor inconvenience, some snow and cold. Category 2 brings icy roads.
Then you get to major inconvenience, which is, or a significant inconvenience, and that's Category 3.
Now less traveled roads are being closed. Then comes Category 4. Travel grows dangerous everywhere. Schools start closing.
When we get to 5, that's the old proverbial Katie bar the door. In some cases, it could be a blizzard condition. It could be, if you're out in the elements for a short period of time, you could die.
So far, the winter weather rating system is being tested only in a few communities here in the West, but public reaction has been good. And that means it could be showing up in major cities by next winter. Tom Foreman, ABC News, Cheyenne, Wyoming.
There is more about this at our website, abcnews.com. Tomorrow, the weather is a weapon, a remote idea, but an idea. And when we come back this evening, the anthrax threat.
Where will you be when the millennium turns? Your dreams change. So have we. Now Dean Witter and Morgan Stanley have joined to provide a world of investment advice on a personal level. The world will change, but at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, we will always measure success, one investor at a time.
It's a scream.
scrumptiously delicious bar, fortified with 17 vitamins and minerals. Get your recommended daily allowance of chocolate crunch. The Boost Bar. Find it next to Boost.
Overactive bladder.
That strong, sudden urge.
Having to go so often. The fear of wedding accidents.
If you're one of the millions who live with some of these symptoms, there's something you should know. Overactive bladder isn't normal at any age, and your doctor has treatments that can help.
Need a break? I can wait.
These treatments can help reduce the symptoms of an overactive bladder.
You want to go back?
In a while.
Overactive bladder isn't normal at any age, so talk to your doctor today about treatments that can help.
If the same cold keeps going around your family, count on Lysol Disinfectant Spray, the only one with 99.9% germ kill in 30 seconds. No spray works faster to help reduce the spread of illness-causing germs. All you have to do is use it, regularly of course. The fact is, nothing helps protect or has earned the trust of more families than Lysol Spray. You have our word on it.
Pizza Hut dared anyone to find a better pizza.
Oh, really?
Papa John took the challenge and won in independent taste tests, one big time. That's not surprising. After all, we were named Best Pizza Chain 2 years in a row.
Anybody can claim to make a better pizza, but it's you, the consumer, who've decided. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
Try our Papa's Choice, a large pizza with your choice of up to 5 toppings for just $10.99.
There was a conference just outside Washington today on bioterrorism, which means terror involving biological weapons. There were all sorts of ideas and a clear need for vigilance. Here's ABC's Bob Woodruff.
In the past 6 months, there have been more than 120 anthrax scares in this country. All of them have been hoaxes.
Every day there's an anthrax letter supposedly arriving someplace, and this has become a very disruptive and also dangerous phenomenon which we're trying to respond to.
With every anthrax call, police and firefighters spend hours and tens of thousands of dollars in case the threat is real. Now, some experts are concerned that with all the false alarms, law enforcement will become less aggressive.
The very real threat there is that when the real thing happens, if we're not prepared to respond to it with everything we've got, it's going to get out of hand very quickly, and a lot of people are going to die.
At today's conference outside Washington, experts proposed that exact scenario. A terrorist calls the FBI threatening an attack, but the calls are ignored. A short time later, 74,000 people are packed inside a stadium as the terrorist drives by in a truck and releases a small amount of anthrax into the crowd. The first symptoms don't show up for 4 days as hospitals are flooded. By the 8th day, 4,000 people are dead and 16,000 are sick.
Is this really possible?
Unfortunately, this is possible. This is realistic.
More realistic since the Tokyo subway gassing in 1995, when it became clear that terrorists could successfully deliver a chemical or biological weapon.
There's no cause for panic, experts say, but what is needed now is constant vigilance, especially as the number of false alarms continues to rise. Bob Woodruff, ABC News, Washington.
And we agree this is a pretty strong contrast, but a new study today finds that ketchup can be good for you. Along with salsa, spaghetti sauce, and fresh tomatoes, the study in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute looked at previous research and found that eating lots of fresh and processed tomatoes can lower the risks of some kinds of cancer. Check your doctor. In a moment, the Hillary Watch.
Open wide! It's new Friskies Dental Diet.
Now there's a great tasting cat food that helps reduce plaque and tartar buildup by 25%. That's news to chew on.
Toothbrushes? Poor humans.
New Friskies Dental Diet.
Passport. Your Pop-Tarts. You think I was born yesterday? Out of the car.
New Pop-Tarts Pastry Swirls. Round, iced, and deliciously flaky. They're like no Pop-Tarts you've ever seen.
Yeah, Pop-Tarts, right.
It is the result of imagining without boundaries. Introducing the new Chrysler Concorde LXI. Roomy, luxurious cabin, 8-way power leather trim seats, and a concert-quality sound system. Concorde, ranked best premium midsize and initial quality by J.D. Power and Associates. Chrysler Concorde, built on the belief that great cars appeal to a more passionate side. Chrysler. engineered to be great cars.
When I take a liquid antacid, I feel like, ugh.
It's like liquid chalk.
I'm not crazy about any of them.
If you had something that tastes better, I mean, it would be a joy.
Introducing new fast-acting Mylanta Supreme.
What makes it supreme? Wow.
Oh, that's good. I'm not kidding.
Very light. Yeah, it tastes like a dessert.
It's the only liquid antacid with no chemical preservatives.
It doesn't taste like medicine, I'll tell you.
It's actually helping my indigestion now.
Supreme relief. Taste it for yourself.
Should I have some more?
Someone is killed.
She's dead.
And it's someone they know.
It's all on the tape.
Now, when they face this lawyer...
Young man, behave yourself.
These cops could lose.
You're a murderer.
All new NYPD Blue ABC tonight. Viewer discretion advised.
And finally, you may have heard some of the same opinions that we have about whether or not Mrs. Clinton is going to run for the Senate in New York while she is still the First Lady. Some people think it's a great idea. Others think it's a practical joke being played on the press. Others think it's her way of no longer being seen as a victim. Now that the impeachment process is over, a little poke in the eye for him, or a way even to share the family business. Mrs. Clinton does have to decide at some point what to do next. Sam Donaldson reports tonight that Mrs. Clinton is not trying to turn the story off.
Ladies and gentlemen, the First Lady, accompanied by Tipper Gore, Secretary Madeleine Albright.
Yes, indeed, perhaps never before has a routine announcement of disaster relief aid been made in such a highly publicized, star-driven fashion, or covered by such an overflow crowd of reporters and cameras. But then never before has a First Lady considered running for the Senate from New York.
I'm very pleased that the President has proposed funding of nearly $1 billion to help our Latin American neighbors repair and rebuild in the aftermath of these disasters.
True, the presidential podium didn't sport the presidential seal, but the aura of power was unmistakable and not accidental. Tipper Gore was to have made that announcement, but Mrs. Clinton asked to come at the last minute, according to her staff. And who was going to say no? As she turned to leave, a reporter sang out,
Mrs. Clinton, everybody wants to know if you're going to run for the Senate.
A wave, a smile, but no reply. As for the other half of the Clinton team, the president, he was taking the day off on the golf course, described by his press secretary as a little tired, given all that has happened to him recently. Late today, Mrs. Clinton issued a written statement, which reads in part, I will give careful thought to a potential candidacy in order to reach a decision later this year. So what she'll do is still unknown. But one thing is certain. When people ask reporters, what will you cover now that the scandal is over? The answer, at least in the short run, is this. Peter?
Thank you, Sam. That is our report on World News Tonight, later on Nightline, where women are killed because it said they have shamed their families. I'm Peter Jennings. See you tomorrow, I hope. Good night.
Tomorrow, manipulating the weather, using technology to create rain and lightning. Could it be used as a weapon of war? Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABCNews.com, now a part of the GO Network.